The massive space station Harmony Ring drifted silently through the void between star systems. Inside its gleaming halls, 12 different alien species had gathered for the most important meeting in galactic history. The air itself seemed heavy, with tension as representatives took their seats around the circular chamber. Admiral Corvin slammed his clawed fist on the table. The Draknari warrior's red scales gleamed under the artificial lights as he spoke. The humans must be stopped now, before it becomes impossible to contain them. Ambassador Thale floated gracefully above her designated spot, her ethereal form shimmering like moonlight on water. The ancient being had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. I have seen this pattern before. Species that expand too quickly always become dangerous to the established order. The holographic display in the center of the chamber showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies that had appeared in the last 50 years. The expansion was aggressive, relentless, and deeply troubling to the older species who had divided up territory long ago. They breed like insects, hissed Senator Volk of the reptilian Saurian Republic. Their birth rates are 3 times higher than any civilized species. At this pace, they will outnumber all of us combined within 2 centuries. The Mechanical Collective's representative, Unit Prime, processed the data with cold efficiency. Analysis confirms that human resource consumption exceeds sustainable levels by 47%. Their industrial output has increased by 600% in the last decade alone. Corvin activated another display showing recent conflicts. Look at these reports. They fight over everything. Territory, resources, even abstract concepts like honor and freedom. Every human colony we have encountered shows the same pattern of aggressive expansion and territorial disputes. The evidence was overwhelming. Humans had first made contact with galactic civilization barely 3 centuries ago, when their primitive spacecraft stumbled into ethereal space. At first, the older species had been amused by these newcomers, with their crude technology and warlike nature. Now that amusement had turned to genuine concern. The Terran colonies are appearing on worlds we had marked for future development, complained Administrator Zex of the Corporate Federation. They show no respect for prior claims or established mining rights. Worse yet, they actually defend these illegal settlements with military force. Talos' voice carried the weight of millennia. I have observed their species closely since first contact. They possess a unique combination of intelligence, aggression, and adaptability that makes them extremely dangerous. Unlike other species that specialize, humans seem capable of excelling in multiple fields simultaneously. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Most galactic species had evolved along specific paths. The Draknari were warriors, the Ethereals were philosophers, the Saurians were administrators. Humans seemed to be all of these things at once. Their technology progresses at an alarming rate, added Chief Scientist Vel of the Academic Union. They reverse engineer captured equipment and often improve upon the original design within months. Some of their innovations actually exceed our own capabilities in certain areas. Corvin growled with frustration. The time for debate has passed. If we wait any longer, they will be too strong to stop. The Draknari Empire proposes immediate military action. What do you suggest? Asked Thale, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. We send the World Render to their home system. One demonstration of our superior firepower will force them to accept whatever terms we offer. If they refuse, we destroy their homeworld and scatter the survivors to designated reservation zones. The World Render was the pride of the Galactic Fleet. The massive vessel measured over 20 kilometers in length and carried the combined firepower of an entire battle group. No single planet had ever survived an assault from the legendary ship. The humans have only been in space for 3 centuries, Corvin continued. Their largest vessels are barely 1 kilometer long. They possess no technology that could threaten a ship like the World Render unit. Prime calculated the odds. Probability of successful human resistance, 0.03%. Estimated casualties on our side, minimal. One by one, the species voted. The Drachnary Empire voted for immediate action. The Saurian Republic agreed, citing the need to maintain order. The Corporate Federation supported the motion, hoping to claim the valuable human territories. The Academic Union voted yes, claiming it was for the greater good of galactic civilization. When the final vote was tallied, the result was unanimous. 12 species, representing billions of beings across hundreds of star systems, had agreed to give humanity an ultimatum: submit or face extinction. Thale raised one final concern. The humans have shown remarkable resourcefulness in the past. Are we certain they pose no threat to the world render? Corvin laughed, a sound like grinding metal. What could they possibly do? Their most powerful weapons are chemical explosives and primitive nuclear devices. The world render shields can withstand direct hits from antimatter torpedoes. Human technology is centuries behind our own. The meeting concluded with the formal orders being transmitted to Captain Reyes of the world. The ship would depart immediately for the Sol system, arriving in exactly 48 hours. The humans would then have 72 hours to accept the terms of surrender or watch their homeworld burn as the representatives dispersed to their respective ships. None of them noticed the small human monitoring probe hiding in the asteroid field nearby. The device had been recording everything, transmitting compressed data bursts to a relay station 3 systems away by the time the world render began its journey toward Earth. Warning signals were already racing ahead at faster-than-light speeds. The message was simple but urgent. The entire galaxy had declared war on humanity, and their most powerful weapon was coming to deliver an ultimatum that could not be refused. Admiral Corvin settled into his command chair aboard his personal flagship, satisfied that the human problem would soon be resolved. The Drachnary had fought many wars of conquest over the millennia, and this would be the easiest victory in their history. He had no way of knowing that deep beneath the surface of a small blue planet, human engineers were making final preparations for a weapon that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Earth had always been peaceful, but humanity had learned long ago that peace could only be maintained through strength. The galaxy was about to discover just how strong humans could become when their survival was threatened. Red alert! Klaxons screamed through the corridors of Earth's orbital defense platform. Commander Alex Ward rushed to the communication center as reports flooded in from deep space. Monitoring stations throughout the solar system, the massive alien vessel had arrived exactly when the warning messages predicted. "Sir, we have visual confirmation," reported Lieutenant Mills, her hands shaking as she adjusted the long-range sensors. "The ship is enormous. Our computers estimate 20 kilometers in length, with energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Ward studied the tactical display with growing dread. The alien vessel, which intelligence reports called the World Render, dwarfed even Earth's largest space stations. Worse yet, it was broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding immediate surrender. "Put the transmission through," Ward ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the intimidating figure of Captain Reyes. The alien commander's features were sharp and angular, with skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "Humans of Earth, I am Captain Reyes of the Galactic Fleet. Your species has been deemed a threat to the stability of civilized space. You have 72 hours to evacuate your homeworld and report to designated processing centers. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of your planet." Ward activated the return signal. "This is Commander Alex Ward of Earth Defense Command. We will not abandon our home. If you want Earth, you'll have to take it by force." Reyes seemed amused by the defiance. "Very well. Perhaps a demonstration will change your mind." The World Render's primary cannon swiveled toward Proxima Station. humanity's newest colony outpost, on the edge of the system. The weapon charged with a sound like reality tearing apart. A beam of pure energy lanced out across space, striking the small research facility with devastating precision. Proxima Station simply vanished. One moment it was there, home to 12,000 civilians and scientists. The next moment, nothing remained but expanding clouds of superheated gas and debris. "Your demonstration is noted," Ward replied through gritted teeth. "Our answer remains the same." The commander cut the transmission and turned to his staff. Around him, the orbital platform buzzed with desperate activity as Earth's defense fleet prepared for the most hopeless battle in human history. Earth's military had always known this day might come. When humanity first encountered alien civilizations, the possibility of conflict had driven massive investments in defensive technology, but no amount of preparation seemed adequate when facing the Worldrender. The human fleet consisted of 12 ships, each representing the pinnacle of Earth's military engineering. The flagship Defiance led the formation, with Ward commanding from his position on the orbital platform. The other vessels ranged from heavy cruisers to fast attack craft, all armed with the most advanced weapons humanity could produce. "All ships, this is Ward. We know the odds. We know what we're facing. But remember why we're here. Every second we buy gives Earth more time to prepare. Make them count." The human fleet moved into attack formation as the Worldrender approached. The alien ship's weapons began targeting the smaller vessels immediately, recognizing them as the primary threat to its mission. The battle was even more one-sided than anyone had expected. The Worldrender's shields absorbed everything the human fleet could throw at it. Nuclear torpedoes detonated harmlessly against the energy barriers. Particle beam weapons scattered like flashlights against a mirror. One by one, the human ships died. The destroyer Vigilant took a direct hit from the alien secondary batteries and broke apart in a cascade of explosions. The cruiser Determination lasted slightly longer, its captain ramming the massive ship in a final desperate attack that accomplished nothing except adding more debris to the growing field. Within 30 minutes, only the Defiance remained. The flagship's hull was cracked, atmosphere bleeding from dozens of breaches. Emergency power flickered as the ship's systems struggled to maintain basic life support. "Sir, we've lost main engines," reported Chief Engineer Blake over the comm system. "Hull integrity is at 15%. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete structural failure." Ward nodded grimly. The battle was lost, but the mission was far from over. Unknown to the aliens, every second of combat had been carefully recorded and transmitted back to Earth. More importantly, the human fleet's seemingly suicidal attack had been serving a very different purpose. Engineering, prepare for transmission burst. Send everything to command. Aye, sir. Package is ready. All stations, this has been an honor. Ward to Earth Command. The path is clear. I repeat, the path is clear. Execute Project Javelin. The transmission raced toward Earth at light speed, carrying detailed tracking data on the Worldrender's position, course, and velocity. Every measurement had been precisely calculated during the battle, purchased with the lives of 11 ships and their crews, deep beneath the Sahara Desert. Automated systems received Ward's final message. Warning lights began flashing in the underground facility as massive generators spun up to full power. The weapon that humanity had built in absolute secrecy was finally ready for its first and most important test. Captain Reyes watched the last human ship drift helplessly through space, its weapons silent and its engines dead. The battle had proceeded, exactly as predicted. Human courage was admirable, but courage alone could not overcome such overwhelming technological superiority. "Scan for survivors," he ordered. "If any humans wish to surrender, we will accept their submission." "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the damaged vessel," reported his communications officer. "Put it through." Commander Ward's image appeared on the screen, his uniform torn and blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Behind him, sparks flew from damaged control panels as his crew worked desperately to keep their ship operational. Captain Reyes, you've won this battle. Our fleet is destroyed, and Earth lies defenseless before your superior firepower. You wanted a demonstration of your strength, and you've certainly provided one. Reyes nodded approvingly. I am pleased that you finally understand the futility of resistance. Order your planet to begin evacuation procedures immediately. Ward smiled, an expression that seemed strangely confident for someone who had just lost everything. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Captain. You demonstrated your power by destroying Proxima Station, but that was just a small research outpost. Now it's our turn to show you what Earth can do. The transmission cut off, leaving Reyes staring at an empty screen. Something about the human commander's final words troubled him, but he dismissed the feeling as irrelevant. What could a primitive species possibly do to threaten the most powerful ship in the galaxy? He would have his answer in less than 3 minutes. 2 miles beneath the scorching sands of the Sahara Desert, Dr. Maria Santos made final adjustments to the most powerful weapon ever constructed by human hands. The underground facility stretched 4 kilometers in every direction, its walls lined with electromagnetic coils that could channel energy levels comparable to a small star. Project Javelin had been humanity's greatest secret for over 50 years, while the galaxy watched Earth's expanding colonies and growing fleet. The real defensive preparation was happening far below the surface of humanity's homeworld. Charging sequence initiated, announced the facility's artificial intelligence. Power levels at 60% and climbing. Santos wiped sweat from her forehead, despite the climate-controlled environment. The weapon's targeting computer displayed a 3-dimensional projection of the solar system, with the world render's position marked by a pulsing red dot. Every calculation had been triple-checked by the finest minds in human space. Maria, we're getting real-time tracking data from Commander Ward's fleet, called out Dr. Kim from the targeting station. The alien ship is maintaining steady course and velocity. Target lock is solid. The tungsten projectile waited in the chamber, a simple rod of metal that would soon carry the hopes of an entire species. At 3 meters long and weighing several tons, it seemed insignificant compared to the massive weapon designed to launch it, but appearances could be deceiving. Power at 80%, the AI announced. All systems showing green. Santos activated her communication link to Earth Command. This is Project Javelin Control. We have target acquisition and are approaching full charge. Request final authorization for weapons release. The response came immediately from General Hayes in orbit. Authorization granted. Fire when ready, Doctor. The fate of humanity is in your hands. Above ground, seismic monitoring stations across North Africa began detecting unusual vibrations. The energy buildup in the underground facility was so massive that it was affecting tectonic stability for hundreds of kilometers around the impact site. Power at 95%, the AI reported. Magnetic field alignment optimal. Target tracking confirmed. Santos looked around at her team of engineers and scientists. These people had dedicated their lives to this moment, working in absolute secrecy to give humanity a chance at survival. Many had not seen sunlight in years, living and working in the depths of Earth to protect the secret of Project Javelin. 98%, 99%, full power achieved. The facility's fusion reactors screamed as they pumped energy into the weapon's charging system. Emergency cooling systems worked overtime to prevent critical components from melting under the incredible heat generated by the charging process. Final targeting check complete, announced Dr. Kim. Trajectory calculated for intercept in 2 minutes, 37 seconds. The world render will be directly in our line of fire. Santos placed her hand on the firing control. The simple red button seemed almost mundane, considering what it would unleash. With a single press, she would fire a projectile at nearly 50% of light speed, carrying more kinetic energy than humanity's entire nuclear arsenal. All stations, prepare for firing. On my mark. The tungsten rod was held in place by magnetic fields so powerful they could crush a building. When those fields released the projectile, it would accelerate through the kilometer-long barrel faster than any human-made object in history. Target confirmed. Firing solution locked. All systems ready. Santos took a deep breath and pressed the button. The weapon fired with the force of a dying star. The electromagnetic coils discharged their energy in a perfectly timed sequence, accelerating the tungsten projectile to incredible velocity within milliseconds. The recoil was so powerful that it registered as an 8.0 magnitude earthquake on seismic monitors around the world. Above ground, the desert sand turned to glass in a perfectly straight line extending from the weapon's hidden barrel. The atmospheric disturbance created by the projectile's passage left a visible trail of superheated air that glowed like a second sun for several seconds. The tungsten rod streaked through space, invisible to conventional sensors, but carrying enough kinetic energy to punch through a planet. Its trajectory was perfect, aimed at a point in space where the world render would be when the projectile arrived. Captain Reyes was reviewing the human surrender terms when his sensor officer suddenly looked up in alarm. "Sir, I'm detecting a massive energy discharge from the planet's surface. Something was just launched at incredible velocity." "What kind of projectile?" Reyes demanded. "Unknown, sir. It's too small and too fast for our sensors to get a clear reading, but the energy signature suggests velocities approaching significant fractions of light speed." Reyes felt his first moment of genuine concern. Time to impact. 17 seconds. "Sir, raise shields to maximum. All point defense systems, target that projectile." The world render's defensive systems came online, filling space around the massive ship with energy beams and defensive fields. But the tungsten rod was moving too fast and was too small a target. The point defense systems couldn't lock onto something traveling at such incredible velocity. 10 seconds to impact, the sensor officer reported, his voice rising with panic. "Evasive maneuvers," Reyes ordered, but he knew it was already too late. The massive ship was simply too big to change course quickly enough to avoid the incoming projectile. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. The tungsten rod struck the world render's forward shields at nearly 50,000 kilometers per second. At that velocity, the simple piece of metal carried more kinetic energy than a small nuclear weapon. The shields, designed to stop energy, weapons and conventional explosives, offered no resistance to the relativistic projectile. The rod punched through the energy barriers like they didn't exist, then continued through the ship's armored hull with equal ease. Everything in its path simply vaporized from the incredible energies involved. Bulkheads, equipment, crew members, everything was reduced to superheated plasma. But the real destruction came from what happened next. The projectile's passage created a tunnel of vacuum through the ship's center, and the sudden pressure differential caused catastrophic structural failure. The world render's hull cracked along its entire length as atmosphere explosively decompressed through the whole. Secondary explosions began as the ship's power systems overloaded. Fusion reactors went critical, antimatter containment fields failed, and ammunition storage areas detonated in chain reactions that tore the mighty vessel apart from within. Captain Reyes had just enough time to realize that his species had made a terrible mistake before the bridge section broke away from the disintegrating ship. The world render, pride of the galactic fleet, and the most powerful vessel ever constructed, died in less than 30 seconds. Within minutes, nothing remained of the massive ship except expanding clouds of debris and the shocked silence of alien communication networks throughout the system. On Earth, Dr. Santos and her team watched the results of their work through telescopic feeds. The weapon had performed exactly as designed, but none of them felt any satisfaction in the victory. They had just killed thousands of beings and started a war that could end with humanity's extinction. "Target destroyed," reported Dr. Kim quietly. "Complete structural failure confirmed." Santos slumped in her chair, suddenly feeling the weight of what they had accomplished. Project Javelin had worked perfectly, but success might prove more dangerous than failure. The galaxy now knew that Earth possessed weapons capable of destroying their most powerful ships. The question was what they would do with that knowledge. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of the World Render's destruction. Representatives arrived in ships bristling with weapons, their usual diplomatic protocols abandoned in favor of desperate preparation for war. The magnificent chamber aboard Harmony Ring now felt like a tomb as 12 species gathered to confront an impossible reality. Admiral Corvin paced back and forth like a caged predator, his red scales darkened with fury. The humans destroyed our most powerful vessel with a single shot. A single shot from their homeworld punched through shields that could withstand antimatter torpedoes. Unit Prime of the Mechanical Collective processed the tactical data with cold efficiency. Analysis of debris patterns indicates the projectile achieved velocity of approximately 47,000 kilometers per second. Kinetic energy exceeded our projections by several orders of magnitude. Ambassador Thale floated silently above her position, her ethereal form flickering with distress. For the first time in millennia, the ancient being seemed genuinely shaken. "I have observed countless civilizations rise and fall. Never have I witnessed such devastating firepower deployed from a planetary surface." Senator Volk's reptilian, features twisted with panic. "How is this possible? Our intelligence reports showed no evidence of such weapons. Human technology was supposed to be centuries behind our own." "Obviously, our intelligence was wrong," snarled Corvin. "The question now is how many more of these weapons exist throughout human space. If Earth can mount such firepower, what about their colonies?" The holographic display showed the scattered remains of the world render drifting through space. Analysis teams had recovered enough debris to confirm the impossible. A simple tungsten projectile had destroyed the pride of the galactic fleet through pure kinetic energy. Chief Scientist Vel presented his findings with obvious reluctance. "The weapon appears to be a form of electromagnetic mass driver, but on a scale we never imagined possible. The energy requirements alone should have been beyond their technological capabilities. Clearly, they were beyond our understanding, not their capabilities," Thale observed quietly. "While we debated their expansion, they were preparing for war on a level we never anticipated." Reports continued flooding in from across the galaxy, each more disturbing than the last. Human colonies that had seemed defenseless were suddenly revealing defensive installations that no one had noticed before. Asteroid mining stations turned out to be camouflaged weapons platforms. Peaceful research outposts were equipped with military-grade sensors and communication arrays. The Epsilon Eridani colony just transmitted a warning to our survey fleet, reported Administrator Zex with a trembling voice. "They claim to have 3 operational mass drivers aimed at our ships. They're demanding we withdraw beyond the system's edge immediately." Similar reports came from every human settlement. The species that the galaxy had viewed as aggressive but primitive had been playing a much longer game than anyone realized. While appearing to expand recklessly, they had actually been constructing a defensive network that spanned hundreds of light years. "How did we miss this?" demanded Senator Volk. "Our surveillance networks monitored every human world. We tracked their ship movements, their resource allocation, their industrial output. Because they wanted us to miss it," Thale replied sadly. "While we watched their fleets and colonies, they were building weapons deep underground or inside asteroid belts. They let us see exactly what they wanted us to see. The implications were staggering. Every assumption about human capabilities had been wrong. Every strategic calculation had been based on incomplete information. The species they had planned to easily crush had been preparing for this conflict longer than most civilizations had existed. Corvin slammed his fist on the table again, causing several representatives to flinch. The Draknari Empire demands immediate retaliation. We mobilize every ship, every weapon, every soldier in the galaxy. We crush them before they can deploy more of these planet killers. With what? Unit Prime asked bluntly. The war represented 30% of our combined fleet's firepower. If they can destroy ships of that class with single shots, what chance do smaller vessels have? We overwhelm them with numbers. They can't have unlimited ammunition for these weapons, can't they? Dale's question hung in the air like a death sentence. We don't know their manufacturing capabilities. We don't know their resource reserves. We don't know anything about their true military capacity. The debate continued for hours, but every proposal seemed to run into the same problem. The galaxy's military forces had been designed to fight conventional wars against known technologies. Facing enemies who could destroy capital ships with projectile weapons changed every tactical assumption. Perhaps we should consider negotiation, suggested Dr. Nex of the Peaceful Systems Alliance. If humans possess such power, maybe we can reach an accommodation. Corvin's growl filled the chamber. Negotiation? They just murdered thousands of our people. The Draknari do not negotiate with murderers. They were defending their homeworld after we threatened to destroy it, Thale pointed out. By the standards of most species, their response was entirely justified. Justified or not, they've demonstrated the ability to threaten any ship in the galaxy. That makes them too dangerous to leave unchecked. The argument might have continued indefinitely, but new reports began arriving that changed everything. Human colonies weren't just revealing defensive weapons, they were demonstrating them. 3 different star systems reported the complete destruction of uninhabited planets, each obliterated by projectiles fired from human installations. The message was clear. Humanity could reach any target within their expanding sphere of influence. No fleet, no station, no world was safe from their weapons. They're not just showing us they can defend themselves, Unit Prime calculated grimly. They're proving they can strike anywhere we have assets. This isn't a defensive capability. It's offensive power projection on a galactic scale. The revelation sparked panic among the assembled representatives. Species that had dominated space for millennia suddenly found themselves vulnerable to attack by upstart humans who had barely left their home system 3 centuries ago. We need to recall all our ships from human space immediately, urged Senator Volk. Every vessel within range of their weapons is a potential target. Agreed, said Admiral Corvin reluctantly. But this is only a temporary withdrawal. We need time to develop countermeasures. What countermeasures? Thale asked sadly. How do you defend against weapons that travel at significant fractions of light speed? How do you detect projectiles? Too small and fast for conventional sensors. The answer, as every representative in the chamber was beginning to realize, was that you couldn't. Humanity had developed the perfect weapon for space warfare, simple, devastating, and nearly impossible to stop. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in a single moment, and there was no going back. As the meeting broke up, the various species began making desperate plans for their survival in a universe where humans were no longer the helpless newcomers they appeared to be. The age of galactic dominance was ending, and something entirely new was about to begin. 3 months after the Worldrender's destruction, a small human diplomatic vessel approached, Harmony Ring. The ship was unremarkable in every way except for the complete silence that greeted its arrival. No challenges from defense platforms, no demands for identification, no threatening postures from the assembled alien fleets. Ambassador Emma Blake walked through corridors that had once bustled with the confident representatives of a dozen species. Now the halls seemed empty and fearful, with nervous alien diplomats hurrying past without making eye contact. The balance of power had shifted so completely that even the architecture seemed different. The circular chamber where the Galactic Council met had been redesigned since Blake's last visit. Previously, the seating had been arranged to emphasize the equality of all member species. Now, a new chair sat at the head of the circle, clearly intended for humanity's representative. Blake took her place as the other ambassadors filed in. The contrast with their previous meeting was striking, where once they had radiated confidence and authority, now they seemed diminished and uncertain. "Thank you all for agreeing to this meeting," Blake began, her voice calm and professional. "I come bearing humanity's proposal for a new galactic order." Admiral Corvin's claws scraped against his armrest. The proud Draknari warrior looked older somehow, as if the destruction of his species' most powerful weapon had aged him decades. "What demands do the humans make?" "Not demands, Admiral. Proposals. Humanity has never sought to conquer or dominate the galaxy. We simply want to live in peace and prosperity alongside our galactic neighbors." The words might have been diplomatic, but everyone in the chamber understood the reality. Humanity didn't need to make demands when their weapons could reach any target in known space. They were negotiating from a position of absolute strength. Blake activated a holographic display, showing the current state of galactic affairs. Red zones marked areas now under human protection, which included not just human colonies but also several previously neutral systems. Our terms are simple. First, humanity will be recognized as a full and equal member of the Galactic Council, with voting rights proportional to our population and territorial holdings. Second, all current human colonies and territories will be acknowledged as legitimate sovereign space. Unit Prime processed the implications with mechanical precision. These terms would grant humans control over approximately 15% of explored space, including several systems rich in rare resources. Third, Blake continued, we propose a new mutual defense treaty. Any unprovoked attack on human space will be considered an act of war against all member species. In return, humanity will provide protection for any council member facing external threats. The offer was as generous as it was terrifying. Humanity was essentially offering to serve as the galaxy's police force, backed by weapons that could destroy planets from hundreds of light years away. Ambassador Thale spoke for the first time since Blake's arrival. "And if we refuse these terms?" Blake smiled politely. "Then I'm afraid we'll have to rely on our own resources for protection. I should mention that we've recently completed several new defensive installations and formerly contested systems." The euphemism fooled no one. Blake was talking about weapons platforms capable of destroying any ship or station in the galaxy. The defensive installations were offensive weapons by any reasonable definition. To demonstrate our commitment to galactic peace, Blake continued, "We've prepared a small show of our capabilities." She transmitted a set of coordinates to the chamber's main display. The location was a lifeless planet in an uninhabited system, far from any civilized space. Long-range sensors immediately focused on the target, providing a clear view of the barren world. The firing solution has been calculated from our facility on New Terra, approximately 3 systems away. Impact in 60 seconds. The assembled ambassadors watched in horrified fascination as sensors tracked empty space around the target planet. There was no visible projectile, no energy beam, no sign of any incoming attack. For 59 seconds, nothing happened. Then the planet simply ceased to exist. The tungsten rod struck with such force that it didn't merely destroy the world. It scattered its entire mass into an expanding cloud of debris, where moments before a planet had orbited peacefully around its star. Now only glowing dust remained. "The demonstration is complete," Blake announced calmly. "I trust this clarifies humanity's position on galactic security matters." The silence in the chamber was profound. Every representative understood that they had just witnessed the casual destruction of an entire world. The implications were staggering. If humans could do this to a planet, no target anywhere in the galaxy was safe from their reach. Senator Volk was the first to find his voice. The Saurian Republic accepts humanity's terms. One by one, the other species fell in line. The ethereal collective agreed with graceful resignation. The academic union voted for acceptance after a brief consultation. Even the proud mechanical collective acknowledged the new reality with cold logic. Only Admiral Corvin held out. The Drachnary Empire will never bow to human threats. We have our honor. I understand your position, Admiral, Blake replied respectfully. However, I should point out that honor is difficult to maintain without ships to carry it. The threat was delivered so politely that it took a moment for the meaning to sink in. When it did, Corvin's face cycled through rage, despair, and finally acceptance. Without the world render, and facing weapons that could destroy his entire fleet from impossible distances, resistance was not just futile, but suicidal. The Drachnary Empire accepts the terms, he said finally, each word seeming to cause him physical pain. Blake nodded graciously. Excellent. I'm sure this arrangement will benefit all our peoples. The formal signing of the new Galactic Accords took place the following day. Each species representative placed their mark on the historic document that would reshape interstellar politics for generations to come. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, ensuring that every civilized world understood the new reality. As the representatives prepared to depart, Admiral Corvin approached Blake privately. His bearing was still proud, but there was something different in his eyes. Ambassador, may I ask you something? Of course, Admiral. How long have your people been planning this? The weapons, the strategy, the perfect timing of your demonstration. Blake considered the question carefully. The first designs for Project Javelin were drawn up less than a century after we made first contact with galactic civilization. Our leaders recognized that humanity would eventually face a choice: submit to the established powers, or develop the means to stand as equals. You knew we would come for you eventually. We knew that expansion brings conflict, and conflict requires strength to resolve favorably. We chose to be strong. Corvin nodded slowly. My species has fought countless wars across thousands of years. We believed strength came from the size of our fleets and the power of our weapons. You taught us that true strength comes from being willing to use whatever power you possess. The galaxy is large enough for all of us, Admiral. Humanity doesn't seek to replace the Drachnary Empire or any other civilization. We simply refuse to be victims of someone else's ambition. The Drachnary warrior considered this for a long moment. Perhaps there is wisdom in your approach. The Drachnary have always respected strength, even in our enemies. Today, we learn to respect it in our neighbors as well. Over the following months, the new galactic order began to take shape. Human colonies expanded rapidly, now protected by official treaty rather than hidden weapons. Trade agreements were renegotiated with humanity as an equal partner. Most surprisingly, several species requested human protection from external threats that had previously been ignored by the Council. The Peaceful Systems Alliance, long vulnerable to pirate raids, found themselves completely safe once human patrol routes were established in their territory. The few pirate groups brave enough to test humanity's resolve discovered that tungsten rods could destroy ships just as effectively as planets. Dr. Santos found herself promoted to head of Galactic Defense Coordination, overseeing the network of weapons that had made humanity's rise possible. Standing in the command center deep beneath the Sahara, she watched displays showing peaceful shipping lanes protected by the mere possibility of human intervention. Any regrets? Doctor asked General Hayes during one of his visits to the facility. About the lives lost when we destroyed the world render. Every day, about ensuring humanity's survival and freedom. Never. The aliens seemed to be adapting well to the new situation. Santos nodded. Most of them, anyway. It helps that we've been careful to use our power responsibly. We could have demanded tribute or territory, but instead, we've focused on mutual benefit. The Dragneri are requesting joint military exercises next month. Admiral Corvin is a practical leader. He recognizes that his people are safer as our allies than as our enemies. Besides, the Dragneri military tradition meshes well with our own approach to defense. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had viewed humans as dangerous upstarts now competed for favorable trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. The galaxy had learned a simple but profound lesson. It was far better to have humanity as a friend than as an enemy. Blake's final report to Earth Command summarized the situation perfectly. The demonstration of our capabilities has achieved complete strategic success. No galactic power now questions humanity's right to exist and expand. More importantly, none dare threaten our people or interests. But perhaps the most telling sign of the new order came from an unexpected source. The Ethereal Collective, the galaxy's oldest civilization, sent a private message to Earth that would be remembered by human historians for centuries. We have watched countless species rise and fall across the eons. Most seek to dominate through conquest or submission through fear. Humanity alone has achieved dominance through the simple demonstration that they cannot be dominated. This is the mark of a truly mature civilization. The galaxy had tried to contain humanity through threats and ultimatums. Instead, they had unleashed something far more dangerous, human ingenuity, combined with the absolute determination to remain free. One shot from Earth had indeed shattered an entire planet, but more importantly, it had shattered the old assumptions about power and politics in civilized space. As human ships began patrolling trade routes throughout the galaxy, carrying the implicit threat of weapons that could destroy worlds, a new age of peace began. It was a peace built on the understanding that humanity would never again allow their survival to depend on the goodwill of others. The message was simple but absolute. Threaten humanity at your peril. For they had proven that distance was no protection, and no target was beyond their reach. The galaxy had learned to respect not just human strength, but human resolve. And in the depths of space, construction continued on new installations that would ensure this lesson was never forgotten.